Well, what is up, everybody? This is Keith Jameson. I go by Gator Guy 231 across the DFS industry, and we have another 3-game Saturday EPL slate. Eventually, we're going to get 4, right? I haven't looked ahead of time, but at some point, we have to get some more games. Maybe some at the same time. How exciting would that be? But let's continue to grind this. It's soccer, and if it's there, we're going to cover it, and hopefully, we're going to crush. So, quick reminder: bottom right of the screen, subscribe button. FSI is well on its way over 2,000 subscribers. It's only been about a year, so just can't thank everybody enough. But we have so much great content. There's NASCAR has been blowing up. We've got golf, NHL, NBA, any sport. And we're out there doing what we can to cover you completely for free on this YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the bottom of the screen. Best way that you can support us. All right, let's jump into the games. For those that maybe have seen got to this from the Mayo Media Network. These I like that on that channel. It's really all about like some quick hits, some picks to get you started. This one I want to go a little bit deeper into tactics and roster construction. I think I talked about this being a really tough slate. I'm going to show you here, kind of with roster builds, why I think it is so tough. But let's quickly just go over the odds. First game of the day, we've got Brighton going to Big Sam and West Brom. Brighton's a -103 favorite, 2.25 total. I guess I'll just do it now. So Brighton's been just like dominating possession. The biggest problem is they're just not like breaking through in the last few games and scoring the goals. Malplay isn't scoring. It sounds weird to say, but like they're kind of missing Danny Welbeck, it seems. I really think what they're really missing is Sally March, who was great on that left wing back. Steven Alzate has given them nothing on the left. So I think that you're going to see a change there. But from a DFS perspective, it's not like the worst thing when Brighton can't score, because it gives guys like Pascal Gross and Trossard just like huge floors. So Gross will go over here in a minute, but just, is a double-digit crossing machine, takes almost all the sets. He's on PKs if they ever get one. And, so I think he's like probably just the pure best floor on the slate. Then even Trossard now has double digits floor games. He takes an occasional corner, plenty of shots, is plenty active, and he gives you a nice, like maybe a little bit of like a $1,500 to $2,000 relief off the top end. So, Brighton, even if they don't score, they're still good for DFS. And then West Brom, there's only one player that you're really considering for West Brom, which is Pereira. It's just a question of, how much possession they'll have. And I'll go over that in a minute. But I really do think that West Brom's going to play very much on the counter. Big Sam's just going to try to get a point here as West Brom continues to try to avoid relegation. All right. Second game is Leeds hosting Villa. Jack Grealish is expected back. I think that's, in my opinion, that's reflected in the odds. I think if Jack Grealish was out, this would probably be like a -130, -140 game. But it's a 3 total. So that's the only, good total. If we look at the final game, the juice is actually on the under 2.25. So you've got Newcastle hosting Wolves. Wolves a slight favorite, +136. Newcastle has been a little bit more open as of late. But with open comes more allowing goals too. They scored one versus United, but allowed 3, and it could have been more. But realistically, like this is the least appealing game. And I don't think that, for that reason, that you're going to take appealing pieces. Like, I don't think that that's the place to pay up with that crazy total. I think that we kind of just go for like mid-tier floor plays, and I'll go over those in a minute. All right. So let's go to the forward position. Top play of the slate, cover. I say cover. I put him on our cover like so much lately. But so I've been with Gross. So anyhow, Rafinha is probably going to be the cover. 10-7. Look, like Rafinha at this point could very well be like the most exciting player in the EPL. It's just been absolutely awesome since the move. Just like look at the floor here. All right. So Southampton, this is one of his worst floor games. 5 crosses, 4 shots, scored a goal. So, 8.7 without the floor. 24.5, just pure floor versus Wolves. 20.4 with an assist, so about 12 to 13 versus Arsenal. 13.6 no goal or assist, 26.5 with the goal, 15.2, 26.7. You get on and on and on. Rafinha is just an absolute stud. Leeds actually going to struggle to hold on to him, which is just crazy to say. They've signed him, this season. I think the season had already begun when he made his move. But 10.7 is a steep price. But in my opinion, at 1,200, like you can make a lineup for Rafinha. First thing I did was when I plugged him in, made sure I could make a lineup. But monopoly set pieces, biggest favorite, biggest total. I think that it kind of explains itself. The only way you don't play him is if you can't do anything about it. But I would much rather pay 10.7 for Rafinha than 9,500 for Pedro Nato in a gross game and in a game that he split sets with John Moutinho. So next on the line is Pedro Nato. I think he's fine, but I much prefer Pascal Gross. I already kind of talked about why I like Brighton. When they can't score, it's an onslaught of crosses. Look in the last 3 games for Pascal Gross, 11, 12, and 7. And Burnley, funny enough, Brighton didn't play that well. He still had 15.1 with the assist, 16.6 and 16. That's just pure floor. He doesn't even have added, upside equity with being on PKs. So to me, for me, my 2 forwards are going to be Pascal Gross and Rafinha, unless something crazy happens. Now, let's just kind of talk about some other forwards. I think Trossard is very in play as, cost savings. I would just want him to be like 7,500 and make me think. At 8,500, he's just too close to Pascal Gross, where I'm just going to take the set pieces. That's my style and what I'm most comfortable with. Let me just get some drink real quick. So, I think those 2 just stand ahead on forwards. There's plenty of guys in here. I wouldn't call anyone crazy for playing Adama Traore at 7,200. Again, you just have to wait till the end. There's always that uncertainty. Are you in or not? So I think it's tough. Now, if I was going to pay down, I would skip all the way down here to Joelinton at 4K. Callum Wilson's still out. There is uncertainty technically. There is strikers here that could start ahead of him. You have Andy Carroll. You have Dwight Gale. I think they both stink. I think Joelinton's quite good. They just paid, 50 million last summer for him. So, I'd expect them to keep giving him burn, but, he's not going to. You can see in these minutes, 55, 20, 26, that's a sub appearance, 54. So, the issue with Joelinton, he's not guaranteed 90. And look, he's just not like a phenomenal DFS player. But let's say that you wanted to pay up for Jack Grealish, and still have some balance in your lineup. I think Joelinton's how you do it. Again, hardest part, final game, you just don't know if he's in, right? So, if you play him, you're just sitting there crossing your fingers, praying, because if you have everything else locked in your lineup, you have nowhere else to go. And then even if you don't have anything else locked in your lineup, you look at that forward position with Wolves and Newcastle, and you go outside of Pedro Nato and Adama Traore. Actually, maybe it's St. Maximin. His floor isn't phenomenal, but, he's had some really good games lately. He's actually been playing more of a striker. But you had 17.6 and 19.3. But again, 19.3 with a goal, right? So we got to take the goal points off. So that's 9.3 versus Man United. Okay, that's solid. 17.6 versus Southampton, but that was with 2 assists. Chelsea, they possession got dominated, 4.5. So I think St. Max actually, as I'm talking out loud, I see it. I think still more GPP, but I see it. So maybe, if as long as you have the ability, if you played Joelinton and you played in utility, let's say John Moutinho, I'll go over in a second, and Joelinton is not in, maybe you could go up to St. Max or Traore, that's 3,200. You'd have to have a third spot because Moutinho is only 5,900, 5,700. So yeah, you would need one more pivot. So you need like a punt defender or something like that. But just play around with it. Like that's what you would need to do. All right, let's go to midfield. Jack Grealish obviously is top midfielder on the slate. He is a solid dog, right? And he's coming off of injury. That said, no Calvin Phillips in the midfield for Leeds. Leaves a huge gap. Leeds is already super open, right? But Phillips is kind of like almost like a sweeper number 6 that just cleans up so many of their faults and makes them just so much of a better team. That's why he's an English international. So, I think there'll be goals. I don't like Leeds necessarily to hold a clean sheet versus Villa if Grealish is in. Just the conversation is not if Jack Grealish is going to hit value. Like, Jack Grealish walks on the pitch, and the Brighton game was horrible. But Jack Grealish walks onto a pitch. In my opinion, it's a double digits, right? So Brighton 4.9, then immediately he gets injured. So we'll see. But 9.9 versus Arsenal, 19.7, 14.8, 20. You get the picture. Like, he's close to double digits. But at 10,000, especially with the likes of Rafinha, Gross, and even if you let's say that you wanted to play all three, you can do it, right? And it's actually not even that ugly. But you're going to give up. I like Jonjo Shelby. I'm just going to show you this right now. So you got 37.25. I think defender is absolute trash. We'll talk about that soon. But I don't like John Moutinho, but I think he's very playable. So if we plug in the cheapest goalkeeper here, this doesn't work, right? It's actually really close to working. As I'm doing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that actually has a shot. So maybe you get a little bit cheaper than John Moutinho. Alexis McAllister, maybe. Now you have 2 punt defenders and you can make it work. So honestly, look, this is why I love doing these videos and having the screen up and kind of playing around with the lineups, because I can figure something. Look, Jack Grealish is a lot more gettable than I thought. Maybe a lot more people will actually find it even easier to build around Pereira. And now you have even an extra 1,000 to play with. Look, Matthias Pereira, just an absolute stud. 16 or 17.8 floor points versus Burnley, down a man for like 60 minutes. And then, I always talk about this. I think one of the crazier things is 9 floor points versus Man City when they lose 5-0. It's just, he's a stud, takes monopoly set pieces, takes their PKs. Brighton can really dominate possession, but I think Pereira is just, he gets the ball, he's going to shoot, cross, create a chance, draw a foul. So it's like almost every time that he gets the ball, he's going to do something for you. And those are the players you really like. 9,000 is steep considering the matchup, but I think it's doable. I think it's doable. Let's see who else here I want to kind of go over. Ryan Frazier would be awesome, but he just doesn't play anymore. I think Jonjo Shelby, in my opinion, I know I'm skipping down, but it's almost a lock in my cash lineup. Now he's going to be on monopoly set pieces as long as no Frazier's in. He also shoots. That's one thing that's going to be different. I'm going to bring up John Moutinho here in a minute, but Jonjo Shelby shoots. He actually went on a run last year for those that DFS Soccer diehards, where he was like scoring at it was like every other game. I think he got up to like 9K. It was crazy. But Jonjo Shelby's a good player. He's a hothead. You always have like red card risk with Jonjo Shelby. But at 5,100, look, Wolves is not a team to avoid. Like, Wolves doesn't dominate possession. If they get a lead, they're going to sit back. They're very fine to play against. You just don't want to stack Wolves Newcastle games. Like, don't go crazy on this game. On the my Mayo Media Network preview, I call this like the nap time game. Because I think a lot of people are just going to look and go, what's better than watching this game? A nap. Not Wolves fan. I know I have a few of you guys out there. I don't mean to be so harsh, but your team's boring. You know it. But yeah, I think Jonjo just makes a lot of sense. Like, there's a really good chance that he's just going to do 7 to 8 DK. And at 5,100, that's phenomenal. So yeah, I really like Jonjo. Let's go back up here. Jack Harrison subbed off at half versus Southampton, was actually doing okay. He's just kind of in a funk. I think I'm going to stay away. Ruben Neves, if you want to chase PK. I think Veltman is really interesting. I really wish he was still defender eligible. Like, more than anything, I wish he was defender eligible, because defender is really, really terrible. But he had 17.3 DK floor versus Villa in the game that they struggled to score. And then versus Crystal Palace, had the goal, but still 12.9 floor as well, playing that right wing back position. Lamptey could be back, I read. I think he'll be on the bench, especially with how well Veltman's playing. I don't know. 6,300 is steep. It's definitely on the higher end for a wing back without sets. But, if you if I was stacking Brighton, or like doing like a weird stack is actually you could play Brighton peripherals. So you could do like Trossard, Gross, and Veltman, and still play Johnstone on the other side. And just like every time you see a shot, and just knowing that Brighton can't score, until of course I say it. Now they will. But that could be like a kind of 6 stack. Be very, very contrarian, but get you off maybe to a really good start early in the morning. Let's see who else. I actually should have mentioned him at forward. Tyler Roberts has been ridiculously good recently for Villa. So versus Arsenal, he came on as a sub and got an assist for 8.8 DK, but 7.8 floor versus Wolves, played all 90. And then versus Southampton, I didn't play him in Showdown and everybody else did. And I was like, oh crap, I screwed up. 15.8 with the assist. So still around that 7.8 floor points. So maybe that's actually a better mid-tier play than Joelinton is Tyler Roberts, especially he's taking that Rodrigo role while he's out. John Moutinho, old man Moutinho. Look, the biggest downtrack you saw with John Joe Shelby. I think he played like 15 games, 28 shots. Moutinho 23 games, 9 shots. That one goal, I think I lost like 109 head-to-head versus because of that goal. It was like the most tilting thing. But look, the floor is there with Moutinho. He's now splitting sets with Pedro Nato. So you got 7.4 floor versus Leeds, 8.2 floor versus Southampton, 12.6 floor versus Leicester. Take away the goals, so we got 7.1 floor versus Arsenal. So it's there. It's sub 6K. It'd be awesome if it's a monopoly, right? You feel a little bit better, but versus Newcastle, Wolves should have some corners. Again, like I don't think this slate's gonna have a ton of scoring. So, if you can floor out and get, a solid 6 to 8 DK from Moutinho, take another, 7 to 8 from Shelby, and you got 16 in your midfield and you spent like 11K. So I think that makes sense on the slate, because look, if you just go try to chase after goals, you might not find them. There might be very few goals here. And if you do, like who's the most likely guy to score in my head would be Patrick Bamford, and I'm gonna pay 8,800 for him. And I would much rather play Gross or Rafinha, who both can get more than a goal's points without even scoring one. Now they score one or they get an assist, then I'm lapping a guy like Bamford. So that's the rationale. Let's see if there's anybody else in the dumpster pile at midfield that I missed. John Mcginn used to be good, but like for DFS, he's a good player. Just not anymore. There's too many people there. You're not crazy for playing Joseph Willock. It's been looking good for Newcastle. Yeah, Alzati's been terrible. Don't play Alzati, even if he's left wing back. It's a trap. And then he like subs at halftime because he's so terrible. Yet they keep playing him. And he scores versus Liverpool. Like that's the extra tilt, right? He's been terrible. You jump on him after he scores versus Liverpool, and he just does crap in a great position to score. All right, I think that's it. Defender, it's so bad. It is so bad. I can't even really go over it. All the guys at the top, I can't imagine playing. Can't imagine playing 4,900 for target in this matchup. The only maybe pay up is Luke Ayling. But even like him, take away this clean sheet, right? Versus Southampton where they won 3-0, 4.7 DK for 4,800. Not going to do it on this slate. And then Luke Ayling also has the extra tilt that you never know if he's actually going to be a center back because Leeds is just crazy. So yeah, be careful. I think the guy that I am going to look into, and if he's playing left wing back, I'd be interested in, is Dan Burn. He had 8 crosses, 3 shots assisted, all in like the second half when he moved up to left wing back, and they finally got rid of Alzati's corpse on the pitch. So he's sub 4K, potentially playing a wing back for Brighton in a very, very friendly possessional matchup. So I think he's where you go if he's there. If not, I'm just scrolling down. I think Diego Llorente, former Real Madrid peak guy, and then he went to, where was it, Sociedad. Always used to come up with some random headers for goals on interleague slates. So kind of like Diego Llorente as a punt. His first and his 2 games that he's played, 90 minutes. You have the clean sheet, right? So that's only 4.2, but for 3,100, it's not bad. 2.8 versus Chelsea. Again, 3,100, you're not asking for much. I think a guy that might get a little bit of popularity is Konsa. Konsa, I'm not going to say your last name, buddy. We're just going to call you Ezri. But Ezri, that's with the clean sheet, so watch out. But 4.6, 4.2, 4.3. You got some of these clean sheets in here that mixes it up a little bit. And I don't think they stay clean versus Leeds, but, has 2 goals. Maybe he starts at right back. I don't know. It should be El Mohammadi, but we've seen him start right back. That would be cool. That would be easy if he starts at right back, 2,600. All right, goalie. I don't know if I've had Johnston up the whole time, but you know the drill. start low, start with the cheapest. I think Johnstone's super, super viable. You know, they're going to sit back. Brighton's going to shoot. Brighton doesn't score a lot, so it could be Johnstone. I think Johnstone or Darlow. You know, I've probably talked for like 2 years how I kind of like Newcastle at home. And Wolves doesn't scare me, especially Wolves without Raul doesn't scare me. Like William Jose, I probably should have brought up as a forward. You know, kind of a lauded signing, hasn't been that great for them. But like when the Wolves do score, if it's not a PK, you're just like, hold on, what? Really? They scored? Pedro Nato, right? No, because Adama Traore doesn't really score a goal. Now he does. This has been my luck lately. If I say something doesn't happen, it's like a lock to happen. So just like go back into this video, find everything that I said won't happen, and probably plug in your lineups, and you'll probably win a GPP. You know, one of those streaks. You know, I'm looking forward to getting out of it. I hope this is a site to do it, and I hope this helped, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, Gator Guy 231. See you.